Millionaire CEO rescues freezing black nurse. You're coming with me. The command sliced through the icy pre-dawn wind like a blade. Nia glanced up from her lifeless phone, breath fogging the air, to see a tall man stepping out of a sleek black Bentley. Heavy snow was blanketing the streets of Manhattan, transforming the empty avenues into a silent, white wasteland. It was 2 a.m. and she'd been huddled at the bus stop for over an hour after finishing a brutal 16-hour shift at the hospital. "I'm sorry, but I don't," she started, instinctively edging backward. "It's not a question," the man cut her off, removing his coat and holding it toward her. "You'll die out here if you stay." Damian Carrington was 42, a man who had never once stopped for a stranger on the street. As the CEO of the nation's largest private hospital chain, his $3 billion empire was built on ruthless efficiency, icy pragmatism, and swift judgment. But something about the black woman in a faded blue coat, curls spilling from a messy bun, stirred a buried sense of conscience. Nia Harris, 31, had worked as a nurse for a decade and trusted her instincts, and her instincts told her rich white men offering help never ended well for women like her. But her lips were turning blue from the cold, and her hands had gone numb. "Where do you live?" Damian asked, opening the passenger door. "Washington Heights," she whispered, finally slipping into the warm interior. The inside of the Bentley was another universe, soft Italian leather, polished wood trim, and a hushed quiet that cost more than Nia's entire apartment. She watched Damian adjusting the climate controls with meticulous precision. Nothing about him felt casual. "You work at Mercy General?" he asked, starting a conversation that felt far too practiced to be genuine. "No, Hope City Medical," she replied, catching how his eyes sharpened with interest when she mentioned working in the pediatric trauma burn unit. "That has to be demanding," Damian commented, but his tone seemed more like an evaluation than small talk. "How many years of experience?" Nia's brow furrowed. This was the third specific job question in 5 minutes. 10, she replied warily. "Professional dedication," he said with a tight smile that didn't touch his eyes. "That always earns my respect." Through the drive, she tracked his perfectly groomed hands on the wheel, the luxury watch gleaming on his wrist, the suit likely worth more than her yearly salary. He kept probing about her work, her shifts, her colleagues' questions that felt too targeted. "I've been with public hospitals for 10 years, she pushed, testing her growing suspicion, even with all the recent upheavals. "Upheavals," Damian echoed, but the way he said it suggested he already knew. "The buyouts," she explained, watching him carefully. "A private network took over 3 public hospitals this year. Carrington Medical Group," she pronounced the name, waiting for a reaction. A muscle twitched at his jawline. "I'm familiar with them," he replied evenly. When they reached her modest walk-up, Damian insisted on accompanying her to the door, climbing 5 flights in a broken elevator without a word. His eyes silently scanned every corner, taking in the peeling paint and dim hallways, contrasting so harshly with his world. "Nia Harris," she reminded him at her door, realizing he'd asked for her name more than once during the ride. "Damian Carrington," he responded, handing over a gold-embossed card. "If you ever need anything call me." She studied the card as her heart slammed in her chest. CEO, Carrington Medical Group. The same man whose company had bought 3 public hospitals in town including hers, and whose news headlines were filled with talk of aggressive staff restructuring. "Thanks for the lift," she forced a polite smile, even as 1,000 alarms went off in her mind. Once she shut the door, Damian lingered in the dim hallway, a strange grin flickering across his face. Pulling out his phone, he dialed. "Ethan, It's me. I need a full background file. A nurse named Nia Harris. Hope City Medical. I want every detail, performance reviews, disciplinary records. And Ethan, I want it by tomorrow. Inside, Nia leaned against the door, her pulse pounding. There had been something in his gaze that didn't match his so-called kindness, a cold calculation she knew too well from men in power, men who reduced people like her to nothing more than a line on a spreadsheet. She powered up her laptop and typed Damian Carrington into Google. The first results made her blood chill. CEO lays off 600 staff by email. Carrington shutters children's ward to cut costs. Ex-employees condemn toxic corporate culture. But the final headline made her hands shake. Leaked audio, CEO calls black staff a human resource problem to fix. That snowy roadside rescue suddenly felt a lot less like fate and more like a trap. Nia stared at the gold business card, a sinking realization hitting her. She had landed on the radar of a man who could destroy her entire career. If this twisted night of coincidences has grabbed your interest, don't forget to subscribe. You haven't even seen a glimpse of what he was truly planning for her. 3 days later, Nia was in the middle of treating a pediatric burn patient when her supervisor appeared at the operating room door. Harris, I need a word. Now. Janet's cold voice made everyone in the room pause. Nia finished the final stitches, scrubbed out in silence, and followed her supervisor down the hall, heart already hammering before she even saw the folder waiting on the desk. We've received some complaints about your recent conduct, Janet began, refusing to look her in the eye. Reports of unsafe practices, protocol breaches. What reports? Nia protested, voice shaking. My record is spotless. You even called me the strongest nurse on the team last week. Things have changed, Janet sighed, sliding the folder across to her. 3 anonymous complaints came in this morning. Serious accusations of negligence. Nia's hands quivered as she read. The accusations were technically plausible but completely false. Someone had gone through her patient files with surgical precision, twisting routine procedures into evidence of wrongdoing. This is outrageous, Janet. You know my work. Management is concerned, Janet said, wincing. Especially now that Carrington has taken over. They have a much stricter evaluation process. The name hit Nia like a blow. Carrington is behind this. They're changing standards, Janet admitted, looking genuinely pained. Nia, until you can clear these allegations, you're suspended from surgical duties. Nia stumbled out of the office in a daze. 10 years of perfect performance, torn apart overnight. The timing was impossible to dismiss. On the bus ride home, she spotted a black SUV trailing them, keeping pace in her direction. She got off 3 stops early to test it, and sure enough, in a shop's window reflection, she saw the same car pulling over 2 blocks behind. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I heard about your trouble at work. If you'd like to talk, I'm here. Damian. Nia's hands shook. How did he know about her suspension before she had told a single soul that night? She called her sister Olivia, a labor rights attorney in Chicago. Liv, I need help. Someone is trying to destroy me. Slow down, Nia. Tell me exactly what happened. As she explained every detail of the past few days, Olivia fell silent. Nia, she interrupted, did you say Carrington Medical? Yeah. They have a reputation, Olivia warned. Whenever they buy hospitals, they identify key staff and either recruit them or push them out before the merger. Push them out how? Anonymous complaints, trumped up mistakes, creating toxic workplaces. Anything to crush resistance. Olivia paused. But why would they focus on you specifically? Nia took a shaky breath, trying to connect the dots. The pointed questions Damien had asked in the car about protocols, her years of experience, her pediatric specialization made sense in a chilling way. Because he knows exactly how the hospital functions, she realized. He knows every vulnerability in the system, every rule they might slash to save money, or maybe I'm a threat he wants to neutralize. In the following weeks, the pressure kept building. Damien seemed to appear everywhere in her life, each time with a believable excuse. At the cafe where she grabbed lunch, a meeting got cancelled. At the market near her apartment, oh, I live in the neighborhood. Standing by the hospital entrance during a shift touring the new acquisitions. Every interaction was polite, even sympathetic. He'd ask about her suspension, her frustrations, always with a careful concern. I heard they pulled you from surgery, he commented one day, catching her off guard at the pharmacy. That must be hard on someone with your level of skill. Nia frowned. How did you even know that? Word travels fast in this business, Damien replied with a mild smile, though his eyes stayed cool. Maybe I could help. I have connections in management. Thanks, she answered tightly, but I'll handle it myself. Of course, he nodded, you've always been independent. The way he said it, as if he'd known her for years instead of days, sent a shiver down her spine. That night, for the first time in her adult life, Nia reached out to a private investigator. She used her emergency savings to hire someone who could tell her what the newspapers left out about Damien Carrington. A week later, the report arrived, and its contents turned her suspicion to dread. At every hospital Damien had bought, there was a pattern: key staff were systematically driven out or demoted to powerless roles. Those who resisted ended up facing questionable disciplinary measures that led to their dismissal. But the dossier revealed something even more disturbing: Damien had a consistent personal fixation on black women in medical leadership. There were 3 documented cases over the last 5 years, all talented professionals who lost their positions after crossing paths with him. Suddenly, it was clear this wasn't just in her head. Damien wasn't a random billionaire playing savior. He was a corporate predator, and she walked straight into his net. But each new piece of evidence only lit a fire inside Nia, one Damien could never see. That quiet flame of resolve, built on years of fighting injustice and hardship, grew stronger with every manipulation he tried. Because what that privileged man didn't realize was that every underhanded move he made was laying the bricks of his own downfall. He was wildly underestimating a woman who had survived far worse than a ruthless CEO on a power trip. The investigator Nia had hired was Anthony Ruiz, a retired NYPD detective turned corporate sleuth. 3 weeks after the first report, he met her again with even more damning evidence. Nia, you need to see this, Anthony said, spreading photos and files across their small cafe table. Damien Carrington isn't just a corporate vulture. He's a clinical-grade manipulator. Nia felt her stomach clench as Anthony showed her the records. The last 5 years, Damien had run this exact same playbook on 3 other black women in healthcare leadership: first a staged chance meeting, then a campaign of personal interest, followed by systematically destroying their careers with invented charges. Look at these, Anthony added, pushing printouts of WhatsApp messages across to her. A source inside Carrington Medical got these for me. He literally calls you deconstruction projects. Like you're a game. One message made her go cold: the black nurse is taking the bait perfectly. Another few weeks and she'll be professionally finished. I'll wager 50 grand she'll be begging me for help. Nia's hands shook. How did you even get this? Anthony's expression was hard. I have friends in the right places. An even more important one of his previous victims, Dr. Patrice Williams, is willing to testify. She lost everything. Her job, her house, even custody of her daughter after Damien orchestrated a smear campaign. Nia closed her eyes, sickened. And the others? Anthony sighed. One fled to Canada, completely broke. The third attempted suicide. Twice. He paused, voice heavy. Nia, this man destroys people for sport. And you're being targeted specifically because you're black and competent. Olivia's voice was steady. It's a sick fetish of domination, she said. That same week, Damien ramped up his psychological manipulation. He appeared at the hospital during Nia's shift, carrying a lavish bouquet of expensive flowers, acting the gallant suitor in front of her colleagues. I thought you might need something to lift your spirits, he announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. I understand you've been going through some challenges lately. Nia accepted the flowers with a brittle smile, though her eyes were glacial. That's very generous, Damien, but unnecessary. Of course it's necessary, he insisted, then let a hint of malice slip through his carefully polite facade. After all, I am partially responsible for the administrative changes around here. It would be tragic if such a skilled nurse lost her position over misunderstandings. The threat was as clear as it was public. Several co-workers exchanged uneasy looks, instantly understanding that Damien was staking his claim, proving that he held the power to decide Nia's fate. That night, Olivia called. Nia, I found something important, she said, urgency in her tone. Remember I told you I networked with attorneys who handle discrimination cases? One of them has taken on Carrington Medical before. What did you find? He has an Achilles heel, his ego, Olivia explained. He documents everything, because he believes he's invincible. He basically keeps trophies. And there's something else, the Carrington Medical Board has no idea about these personal vendettas of his. She paused. Nia, if we can get the right evidence of what he's been doing, not only will you be safe, we can bring down his whole house of cards. So Nia began to move in secret. During the day, she played the part of the intimidated victim, the submissive employee Damien expected to see. But at night, she was laying the groundwork for something he could never anticipate. Through Anthony, she connected with the other survivors. Dr. Patrice Williams agreed not only to testify, but to share evidence she had quietly preserved for years. You're not alone, Patrice told her during a late-night video call. He always makes the same mistake. He thinks we're too emotional to think strategically. Nia started to record all her conversations with Damien, using an app that sent backups to a secure server automatically. Every veiled threat, every arrogant comment, every subtle flex of his power documented. The turning point came when Damien, too confident and smug, made his biggest misstep yet. He sent her a text message so brazen that even a cautious court would have to take it seriously. Nia, I trust you understand your job security depends entirely on my goodwill. It would be unfortunate if other irregularities showed up in your file. Some people are simply not suited for positions of responsibility. I'm sure a smart woman like you can read between the lines. When Nia showed that message to Olivia, her sister actually laughed for the first time in weeks. He just handed you the rope to hang him with, Olivia said. But what truly changed the landscape was Anthony's next discovery. He managed to get into Damien's private office, and what he found went far beyond workplace harassment. Nia, Anthony said gravely over the phone, I found a hidden digital file. Photos, videos, personal notes, evaluations of every woman he's destroyed. It's a trophy archive. And the language, the patterns, this isn't just about harassment. It's evidence of a systematic, racially and sexually motivated campaign that could rise to federal charges. While Damien kept playing his twisted games, thinking he was wearing Nia down piece by piece, she was methodically building a case to not only end his career but send him to prison. And the delicious irony was that every single smug remark, every threat, every arrogant power play was feeding into the very evidence that would ultimately destroy him. Nia collected it all with the precision of a surgeon cutting out a malignant growth. The Carrington Medical Group board meeting was set to begin at 9 a.m. on a bright, sunny Tuesday in March. Damien stepped into the 50th floor conference room with his usual swagger, greeting each of the 12 board members with crisp handshakes and calculated smiles. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have phenomenal news about the public hospital acquisitions," he began, powering on the projector. "Our operational efficiency is up 20%, and—" "Damien," interrupted James Carrington Sr., the chairman of the board and father of the group's founder, his voice as cold as steel, "before we move on, there are some urgent matters to address." The chill in those words made Damien falter. Around the table, he registered tense, unreadable faces: concern, discomfort, some refusing to meet his gaze. "Matters," he tried, keeping his voice steady. "Regarding your personal and professional conduct," said Margaret Chin, the Director of Human Resources, sliding a thick file across the table. "We have received extensive documentation of your extracurricular behavior." Damien opened the folder and felt the ground tilt beneath him. The first page showed him entering the secret archive in his private office. The second had screenshots of his threatening messages to Nia. The third, full transcripts of recorded conversations in which he described his victims as deconstruction projects. "Where did this come from?" he stammered, hands trembling. "From multiple credible sources," James Sr. replied gravely. "Including 3 civil rights attorneys, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and," he paused for effect, "one exceptionally well-prepared young nurse." The conference room doors swung open. Nia walked in, flanked by Olivia, Anthony, and 2 federal agents. Damien's knees nearly buckled. "Good morning, Damien," Nia greeted, her voice calm yet sharp as a blade. "I'm sure you remember me, the nurse you tried to destroy for sport." "This is all a mistake," Damien pleaded, looking desperately at the board. "You know me. You've seen my results." "These accusations are thoroughly documented," Olivia interrupted, placing another folder on the table. 3 prior victims. Over 15 months of investigative surveillance. Systematic, racially motivated harassment and gender-based targeting. And this. She tapped a tablet screen, which played a recording. Damien's own voice filled the room, describing Nia as part of a wager to see how quickly he could break her, complete with vile laughter and racially charged language about putting black professionals back in their place. Margaret Chin winced and lowered her eyes in shame. "Mr. Carrington," Agent Morrison of the FBI announced, flashing his badge, "you are under arrest for federal civil rights violations under 18 U.S. Code Section 242, conspiracy to commit systematic racial discrimination, and criminal harassment." Damien shot to his feet, toppling his chair. "You can't do this. I'm the CEO. I built this empire." "Actually," James Sr. said, rising with deliberate calm, "you're no longer anything. The board voted unanimously for your immediate termination. Your contracts are null. Your stock is confiscated. You are permanently barred from executive employment in any U.S. healthcare company. Anthony flipped open a laptop. Want to see what's happening outside? On the screen, 3 news channels ran live coverage. Carrington Medical CEO arrested for systematic racial discrimination. Damian Carrington maintained trophy archive of black victims. Recordings reveal shocking harassment scheme at major hospitals. Damian turned to Nia, eyes wild and desperate. You don't understand what you've done. You've destroyed jobs, careers. No, Nia replied, stepping closer for the first time since that freezing night. I saved those jobs. I saved those careers. And I saved countless women from ever enduring what you did to me. She held up the tablet, already filling with messages of support from black nurses and doctors nationwide, sharing their own stories of discrimination. You didn't break me, Damian. You exposed a national sickness and now it's going to change. As the agents put him in cuffs, Damian made a last-ditch offer. Nia, I can fix this: promotions, money, anything. She shook her head with a sad but certain smile. The only thing you can give me now is the promise you'll never hurt another woman like me again. As he was led from the room, James Sr. stepped forward. Ms. Harris, the board would like to offer you the new role of Director of Quality and Integrity for the entire Carrington Hospital network. Starting salary, $250,000, plus benefits. Nia gazed out the window. Below, Damian was being loaded into a police car, surrounded by a sea of reporters capturing his spectacular downfall. In the crowd, she spotted other black nurses she recognized, women he targeted now standing tall, inspired by her. I accept, she said. But with conditions. There will be a robust whistleblower protection policy, and I want a scholarship fund for black nurses pursuing advanced training. Done, James Sr. agreed without hesitation. As Damian realized that the federal government had frozen his fortune, and that no hospital in America would ever hire him again, Nia felt an unexpected surge of peace. That bitterly cold night at the bus stop had not been the start of her destruction, it had sparked the greatest transformation of her life. Sometimes, she realized, true justice comes not from the courts alone, but from the courage to turn every cruel blow into unstoppable evidence. 6 months later, Nia Harris strode through the corridors of Hope City Medical with unshakable confidence, now proudly holding her title as Director of Quality and Integrity. The reforms she pushed through had transformed the culture entirely. Dr. Harris. A young black nurse called out in the hallway. I just wanted to thank you. The scholarship program helped me get my pediatric certification. Nia smiled, remembering how she once dreamed of the same chance. The scholarship fund had become the largest of its kind in the country, funded, ironically, by assets seized from Damian Carrington himself. In the conference room, Margaret Chin, now the head of HR, presented the latest figures. Discrimination complaints down 90%. Employee satisfaction at a record high. And no forced resignations based on fabricated accusations. James Sr. shook his head, still amazed. Nia, in 6 months you've erased a decade of rot from this organization. How can we ever thank you? Just keep doing what's right, she answered simply. Meanwhile, across town, Damian Carrington's reality had turned to ruin. After serving 3 months in federal prison, he was out on bail, but his old life was dead. No hospitals would take his calls. Former colleagues shunned him. With his assets frozen and only a small trust fund to survive on, he was holed up in a cramped apartment in Queens. Each night, he obsessively watched the news, seeing Nia lauded for inclusive leadership and innovation. Former CEO Damian Carrington to face federal trial in September, the banner scrolled. Anthony Ruiz had become a respected figure in anti-discrimination work, launching a consulting firm inspired by Nia's case to help other victims fight back. What Nia did, Anthony explained during a guest lecture at Columbia University, was transform every single act of cruelty into undeniable proof. The best revenge isn't destroying your enemy, it's building something greater than he ever could. And Dr. Patrice Williams, one of Damian's earlier victims, had restarted her medical career, this time as a consultant for Nia's reforms. During a meeting about the new whistleblower protections, one nurse told Nia, tears shining in her eyes, "You know, Dr. Harris, I spent years feeling like I was broken, like there was something wrong with me. Seeing you turn this into real change gave me back my dignity." Nia's sister Olivia had gone on to launch her own law firm specializing in discrimination claims, using their landmark victory against Damian as a precedent for dozens of new cases. "My sister didn't just rescue her own career," Olivia told reporters. "She built a path so that other black women never have to go through this alone." One crisp fall afternoon, Nia received an unexpected phone call. "Damian." His voice was barely recognizable, hoarse and defeated. "Nia, I need to speak with you," he said. "I know I don't deserve a moment of your time, but, could you meet me just once?" Curiosity more than forgiveness made her agree. They met in a simple Harlem cafe, not far from where she had once waited for a bus in the snow. Damian looked like he had aged a decade in 6 months, his clothes cheap, his hair unevenly cut. I need to apologize," he stammered, eyes rimmed with red. "Not just to you, but to every woman I hurt. I know I can't fix what I did." "You're right," Nia replied steadily, her voice calm but resolute. "You can't undo it. But you can serve as an example. Every time your story is told, other women will know they have power. That they don't have to settle for injustice." He nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I lost everything, my family, my friends, my career. But you built something incredible on the ruins of what I tried to take from you." "Not on the ruins," Nia corrected, standing to leave. "In spite of them. You tried to break me because you thought I was weak, but you learned that there is a strength no humiliation can crush. The strength of someone who knows they deserve better and is willing to fight for it." That evening, back in her new apartment overlooking Central Park, a place she'd chosen for herself with the first bonus she earned as director, Nia paused by the window, remembering that freezing night that had changed everything. She picked up her phone and recorded a short video message for her social media followers. "A year ago, a man tried to destroy me because he thought a black woman should know her place. Today, my place is in an executive office, protecting thousands of professionals. The best revenge is never tearing down those who hurt you, it's turning that pain into the fuel to do good." Within hours, the post went viral, sparking thousands of comments from women who shared their own stories of survival and triumph. "He tried to destroy me," Nia thought, "but he only destroyed himself. He had learned the hard way that there are people in this world you cannot break because they have already weathered storms far worse, and discovered they are made of something indestructible: dignity, intelligence, and an unshakable refusal to accept anything less than they deserve." If this story of transformation and hard-won justice moved you, the video concluded, subscribe to the channel for more stories that prove sometimes the universe just needs a push from us to deliver true justice. The greatest victory isn't destroying your enemy, it's building something so extraordinary that their cruelty becomes irrelevant.